Good evening, Graham, and good evening to our special guest tonight, Mr. Tyson Kelly. Welcome, Tyson, and
Thank you for having me.
thank you for joining us. You have joined the esteemed world of two big egos in a small car, and I don't want you to feel you need to compete with our egos because you're clearly backing up rather more achievements than we are. So, welcome.
He's John Lennon. That wipes the floor with us.
That's basically what I'm saying. So Tyson, most recently, I know this because a friend of mine came to see your show. You did the Imagine show at the Wardrobe at Leeds on October the 3rd. So that was a recent performance.
Ah, yeah.
My friend Caroline Coles came along to the show. She was really, really looking forward to that. So I haven't heard since how it went, but I'm sure she had a good time with that. How did it go, by the way, that night?
Oh, yeah. It was a great night. I mean, the wardrobe is, I'd never been there. I'd never played the wardrobe, but it was really an awesome venue. Everybody, all the staff there, the vibes there, that whole area
Mm.
of Leeds. It's funny because the whole band are from Leeds. So,
Oh,
Hmm.
we got the drummers in Kipax, the bass player Richard Hammond, who's played with, you know, like all these guys are top notch
yeah.
musicians. He's in Wakefield. Everybody's based in Leeds, so it was fun. They all brought out a bunch of people, and it was a really special night. I had never played the wardrobe. It was really fun. It was different because the rest of the tour was all theaters and stuff. So
Sure.
it was really fun to play as sort of more of a club venue and to get that sort of more intimate, like, hey, raw, like smaller ceilings and this, everything was just, it was really fun. It was a bit more just improv and just going with it. And yeah, it was a great night. The energy in the room was fantastic.
So, for our listeners, just to explain, Tyson, 15 years now of playing John Lennon, and this has been partly on Broadway for Let It Be, and then, of course, I think probably the best tribute show that's been around over the years, the Bootleg Beatles, which you had your 7 years of doing that,
Mm.
both I think UK and on tour, um, and you're playing. Well, I'm going to suggest that John Lennon probably, and maybe Bob Dylan might argue, but I think potentially John Lennon is the most interesting rock frontman, and I say frontman because obviously McCartney might hit me, but anyway, joint frontman of a band. I think he's potentially the most interesting rock musician there's ever been, and that's partly because he was curtailed tragically at 40. But what an honor to be playing him.
Yeah, no. Obviously, the thing that I always find amazing is that John was an icon.
Mm,
He was an absolute legend to so many, and I think he really was the foundation of the Beatles. He started the group. He
mm,
was in the quarrymen, met Paul,
yeah.
and then really it was him and Paul as the big headers of the beginning of the group. George and Ringo followed, and everybody became a celebrity in the band. But really, it was John that led the beginning of that whole, where are we going, boys? We're going to the top. He obviously like he started the movement, and I think it's very clear to anybody that's a Beatles, nut that he basically started the whole thing, and then as time went by, I think maybe people could argue that maybe Paul kind of took the reins toward the end of the career,
Mm,
leadership wise. But regardless, John was the original leader and the original, just incredible energy that led them
mm,
to victory.
mm.
And that is saying a lot, without John's prowess and
Yeah.
energy, the Beatles would have never come to be. And so, knowing that, it's just an incredible honor to
Mm,
play him for a living, and that's just such I think, when I saw the anthology, when I was younger,
yeah.
I was so drawn to how magical his energy was during those years, like 63, 64,
Mm,
65, when they were all just still like on that buzz of being famous, like, freshly famous.
sure.
And then of course, obviously, the madness wore out, very, the madness of the crowd, Beatlemania just like wore them out, and they just went, okay, well, we want to just stick to studio recording.
Mm.
But those first like few years, I mean, there's no denying that John was the leader, and then Paul, obviously was, you know, uh, firsthand of that, and they were incredible. Those
Mm.
songs they wrote together, So I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah. Graham.
When I first interviewed Tyson in 2021, you'd just been in the Bootleg Beatles for a few years then, after Neil Harris and Adam Hastings. And I remember, like, it was great talking to you. But I remember thinking, well, I've never met a Beatle in real life, but I've now interviewed three John Lennons, which I used to
Yeah.
tell, I used to tell everybody that. Oh, I always got a mild laugh, which is always good. But having left the Bootleg Beatles, you're now successfully touring as John Lennon on your own. So I'm not saying that Lennon wasn't bigger than Jesus, but maybe Tyson's bigger than the Bootleg Beatles now.
Hardly. I mean, look, that's very sweet of you to say. No, I mean, this is a brand new show. We're all so incredibly stoked and honored and humbled to be able to put on a brand new show that is basically, you know, giving us work. I've always thought, in the back of my mind, I could do like a Lennon show, but I've never really pushed anything like it. And the fact that this has all come to fruition in the last year is like really, it's really humbling. And honestly, it's just so much fun to be able to like just not have anyone to, be calling the shots. And it's my show. I have the creative design. It's kind of like, like, okay, what are my favorite Beatles songs? Let's just play those, and
Mm.
just,
Yeah.
creating the show. I'm actually sort of like one of those rare, like, I've been doing this for 15 years in the States, and then with the bootlegs in the UK, and then other bands where all the guys in tribute bands like are musicians who then
Mm.
learn how to be actors. Whereas
Mm.
I was an actor first. I was in musical theater, I was in theater, I was in drama my whole life ever since I could basically read, and love acting and love film and have such an appreciation for that. And then I became a musician. So
Does
the
did that? Do you think that helped you then, Tyson?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I would not be where I am today without having studied theater
Mm.
for the, 8 years or whatever I did. Every year, just like my favorite part of going to school was knowing that I would go to drama or go to theater, and like getting off book and rehearsing and all those, lighting cues and this and that.
Mm.
It's just part of who I am. So then when I became a musician and then I sort of trickled into the tribute industry, it was like, wow, like, yeah, like of course I know the theater 101, but it was funny to learn that all of the musicians around me were like, "Oh yeah, like we'll just sort of try to be actors, but we're like musicians first and foremost. But yeah, we'll try to put the accents on or whatever." And I was always like, "None of you know any musical theater, none of you know any like, don't turn your back to the audience." So, I think that was a huge advantage on my behalf. So doing this show where I have the creative control to put on a show, and as a visionary, as a creative, it's been really fun to just call the shots and just kind of be the director, and basically just go, hey, what if we try this? What if we try this? And everybody going, yeah, it's your show, dude. What if, like you're be the boss. So it's brand new. This is all very new to me, and the fact that it's been a success so far has been like music to my ears. I'm just kind of rolling with the punches, but it's been taken really well. The response from the crowds have been ecstatic, and we're all just very excited for the future of the show.
Graham?
You're playing John Lennon, but which John Lennon? Because John Lennon changed
Right.
almost on an
No,
annual basis.
Mm.
Even if
absolutely.
you stick to late 60s, if you watch Get Back, shot in
Yeah.
early 69,
Yeah.
he's a bit disinterested and possibly on drugs. Then by 1-to-1 John and Yoko in New York,
Mm.
71,
Yeah.
72, he's totally
Yeah.
full on, he's totally committed, he's funny, but he's political.
Yeah.
And that's in the space of 3 years. So you're
Mm.
you're not playing one man, you're playing a whole series of men.
Yeah. No, Graham, that's a very good point. Um, I tend to, in this show, I tend to play, yeah, like probably 73, 74 John, because, that's when he had a bit of reflection. He'd had time to decompressed from the Beatles, but had so much drive and wanted to do so much good. And yeah, no, it really is. It's a very good point you bring up. Like people don't realize how many phases like that person went through. I don't know. When you think about every other celebrity, like you don't really see them in chapters. I mean, I don't know, maybe Charlie Sheen you could say that about, but like, or somebody, like, but like, I look at like, look at Paul. Like Paul's just always kind of been Paul, and he's amazing, but he's always just been, I don't know, you could say, sure, he's different in Wings and he's different now, but Paul's, Paul's amazing and he's always been Paul. But like, I don't know, you're right. Like John in 63 versus John in 65 are completely different. John in 65 versus 67 are like, what? They're so different. Versus 67 to 69, they're completely different. And then 69 to
Yeah.
71, like there's like seven different chapters and he just
That's
kept
why, Tyson, I'm
evolving and
suggesting
progressing and you know what I mean? Yeah.
that's
Mm.
that to me is the point. It's
Yeah.
in such a short period of time. I mean, I know, obviously, Bootleg Beatles shows very well the different phases of the Beatles, but one man changing that much. I mean, there's some argument that Bob Dylan changed quite a lot, and we,
Yeah.
goes through a Christian phase and whatever. But I think the fact that with Lennon, it's so concentrated. That I think is what's so extraordinary. And of course, it then brought to a tragic finale at the age of 40. So,
Yeah.
and we see, and you do wonder, and this is, I think, an impossible question to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is what would have happened to John if that bloody bullet hadn't done what it did to him? How, and given how many changes he'd made in that time, do you think that would have continued to be the way? And maybe that's an unfair question to ask, but I'm asking it.
There's no question that, yeah, if he wasn't taken from us, there's no question. I mean, he would have written another 10 albums of,
Mm.
brilliance. I mean, there's no sign of talent. I mean, you listen
Mm.
to the tracks of Double Fantasy and he's still got it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like, I'm not gonna throw Paul under the bus here,
Here we
but
go.
like, but like, he's put out so many terrible albums. And I'm not saying that all of Lennon's albums were masterpieces, but like, I'm sorry, like he still had it at 40, and
Mm.
I'm sure he would have kept, I don't know, he was just a bit more selective with his art, I think, you look at Neil Young, and
He
it's
was
like, yeah, like,
he was always
like,
committed. He
yeah,
was
yeah,
always
yeah, yeah,
100% committed. He didn't do
yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah,
halfway. No half
yeah, yeah,
measures.
yeah,
Full
yeah,
in every
yeah,
time.
exactly, exactly, Graham. I think he knew when he was making, subpar tracks, and he probably knew when he was making tracks that were special to him and that were special to everyone and that were
Mm.
special in general. So I think to answer your question, I think that yeah, I think if he was still around, if he had never been taken from us, I think, he'd probably have written, another
Mm.
seven or eight incredible masterpiece albums that would have,
Mm.
influenced more and more people and probably be around to, speak up to the evils of the world that are around today, and probably dissuade a lot
Mm.
of idiots from voting, idiotically or
Yes.
believing idiotically,
Mm.
because it's so easy to be swayed by the other less smart, more influential people that
Mm.
sadly exist in today's, society.
Graham.
Mm. I'm a bit annoyed at the British film director Sam Mendes because when he
Mm,
announced he was going to do a series of 4 films about the individual Beatles, I thought,
hmm.
okay, this is a shoo-in for Tyson. And then I read it's Harry Dickinson, who was in that great film Triangle of Sadness by Ruben
Yeah.
Östlund
Mm.
in 2022, and he's a great actor and he's English, but he doesn't look anything like John Lennon, and he possibly has never tried to be anything like John Lennon. And I thought Tyson's your man, surely.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, Graham. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm excited to see that. I'm a big Paul Mescal fan. After reading all of Rooney's new novels and
Mm.
watching
Normal people. Mm.
Normal People. Oh,
Mm.
yeah. So instantly I was like, wow. I mean, Paul Mescal's amazing. And he's a big musical theater person too. I know he's an incredible singer, so he's going to probably do a knockout job playing McCartney. I can't believe he's doing doesn't like anything like McCartney, but he's got he could do the eyebrows. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually did have contact with the agent, the casting agent of the Midas Man
Mm.
production, and he got back to me very quickly and said, "Sorry, Tyson, you're too old. We're looking for 19-year-olds, And I was like,
Oh.
"Oh
Yeah.
God!" Like, it was like, "Come on, man, it's Hollywood. Just fucking makeup does, if you can get The Rock to
Yeah.
play some
Also, you
23
don't
year
look your
old,
age
he's
anyway. You don't
thank
look
you,
your age. Yeah,
thank you." Um, which is still undisclosed. Nobody knows how old I am, but
of course,
no,
of course. Mm.
no. But yeah, I was very just I was like, wow. And then I saw The Midas Man. I thought the bloke that played Brian Epstein was brilliant.
Mm.
And then, I thought that the guys that did the Beatles were really, really, did their best. But, it was like
Not you.
it wasn't no, I mean it wasn't nothing about me. I just, it was like it's just hard to cast the Beatles. They're so well known and they're
Mm.
so incredibly particular. And if you don't have every angle nailed, it's just like everyone is gonna hate you. So it's like it's so precious. It's so precious. And so I kind of, at least when I was rejected for that, at least I was rejected to audition for it, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, well, everybody, was a bit, you know, yeah. I think they all felt the same way about, at least just the preciousness of the nuances of the characters weren't quite captured, I believe.
Yeah. Tell me how you open and close Imagine as a show, what you choose to open with and how you choose to finish the piece, because they're always important. I mean, obviously, middle's important in a show, we know, but I always think the start and the finish, absolutely key.
Well, without giving too much away,
Oh, sorry.
we open up with we've been developing the show. It's a brand new show, so
Mm.
every day, we come off stage, and the band I work with, they're so amazing. They're
Mm.
incredible. Everybody is just so into it, and it's such a pleasure to work with these incredible, talented musicians. We come off stage, and a lot of times, I like to improvise, off the script, and we
Yeah.
come up with
Mm.
jokes and just, and we'll go, oh, you know what, that worked really well. But right before we started this tour, we basically hired a visual artist to do all these visuals, and because all the theaters have projections, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of that's just keeping up with modern, live
Yes. What
entertainment.
people expect now.
Everybody,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, exactly. And we didn't want to fall behind that, so I hired this incredible guy, Chris Hutchinson, and he did an incredible job um, working kind of with AI to develop a lot of visuals. Every song has a visual, and it's so incredible what he's done. He did it like 2.5 weeks, put it all together. And then I had this idea of opening the show. I know that Saturday Night Live isn't very popular in the UK, but
Mm.
um,
People
it's
know
been
about
going
it.
for yeah, people know about it. It's been going for 50 years, and basically, if you've ever seen the introduction of Saturday Night Live,
Mm.
there's this, it's Saturday Night Live
Yeah.
with Tim Meadows, Tina Fey, Will Ferrell. So I thought, okay, I'll do Tom Pardo and I'll introduce the band that way. So I introduced the band,
Yeah.
and the video comes up, and there's shots of the band, and then it goes musical guest, Imagine Lennon, and then there's a photo of us, and it's all during this. I don't know if you've ever heard the introduction song. It's this got this crazy saxophone solo. The
Oh, yeah.
band is
Mm.
amazing. It's the theme song of SNL. It's like the most let's pump the audience up as much as we can vibe. And so it basically does that. It just sets the tone of this exciting new show. It's live. It's all going to be live. And we do that, and that's the opening of the show. And
All
I'm
right.
so
Mm.
I'm so
Mm.
proud of this video that I put it all together. I filmed it like, while we were rehearsing, and just threw
Yeah.
it all together in Final Cut. And it's like it's so fun. It's so fun. And it just goes, ladies and gentlemen, John Lennon. And then I come out, and it's like this incredible thing. And then we just open the show. Like that's how it opens. And
Yeah.
everybody's like,
I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it opens. And then we go into the set.
Mm. Mm.
Um, how does the show end? Well, without giving too much away, we do a couple encores.
Sure.
Um, the show has moments, and by moments I mean, we do the ups and downs. We play the upbeat songs, we play the rockers, the bangers,
Yeah.
and then we do a lot of medleys that I took a lot of time. As a songwriter, I take great appreciation in the power of timing
Mm.
with different sections of songs.
Yeah.
You'll hear a verse, you'll hear a chorus, you'll hear a bridge, then you'll hear an instrumental, and it'll come back to the verse, then it'll go to a chorus, and it'll be a double chorus. All of that is like the same as producing a live show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Knowing how to craft a song, knowing how to craft a show, it's all
Mm.
relative. So knowing how to craft a medley, it's the same sort of tastefulness.
Sure.
You don't want to play a song that goes on and is a bit monogamous
Mm.
and gets a bit repetitive. So we do these medleys that I feel represent the best parts of the songs
Yeah.
in Lennon's catalog. And it goes not too far, but it doesn't also, it leaves you wanting more, sort of thing. So there's a lot of medleys, but at the end of the show, we do two encores. I won't give away which encores. Um, but uh, at the very end of the show, we kind of tease throughout the show these like Ringo songs that the drummer kind of sings.
Yes.
And we do these little snippets, and it's all for humor's sake.
Sure.
And
Mm.
at the end of the show, we playing "Photograph" by Ringo Starr,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
and the drummer runs up to the front of the center mic, and he sings the first verse of "Photograph," and we get everybody on their feet, and then it goes to the saxophone solo, and we bow,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like it is literally like, listen to the song tonight, and tell me that's not the greatest walk-off song to a show.
Mm.
It's
Mm. Mm.
like it's just so good vibe,
Mm.
everybody.
Mm-mm.
And then we go out of the theater, and we walk out and sell merch, and everybody's just
Yeah.
high. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought I'm very happy with the beginning and the ending of the show. So
Absolutely.
thanks for asking.
So this is our sort of closing thoughts here. I mean, it's a show obviously that's in its early stages at the moment. So there could be many more years of this, and I can imagine it developing further because when you play with an audience, you learn how it goes with any show that you do. You learn how the audience is reacting, and you maybe
Right.
restructure it slightly to do with
Yeah.
that. So
Right.
I'm assuming that would happen. I mean, it's an ongoing tour at the moment, or do you have sort
Yeah.
of? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So we're coming back to the UK at a tour in April.
yeah,
I believe we're going to come back again in October,
yeah. Good.
and then we're doing
Cool.
the plan, at least according to our agent, is to excuse me, to play the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
We're going to have a residency there for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
we're
we
going to
go
come
there
down.
every year.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
great!
We
Well,
all
maybe
yeah.
we'll
Look
see
out,
you
you're
there.
there. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Imagine that.
yeah, yeah. Imagine that. And then we're going down to Beatle Week to do a big premiere show there,
Yeah.
just to
Excellent.
maximize the buzz of the
Yeah.
existence of the show, and
Yeah.
really let everybody know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just really fun to see the reactions from everybody. And,
Mm.
you know,
Graham, if you do our closing thoughts to Tyson, if you would.
Oh yeah, yeah. The fact that Tyson's been called the world's greatest John Lennon tribute, it says a lot for his talent and professionalism. But I was just going to ask something silly, really, because I saw a George Harrison tribute recently in a local theatre.
mm,
George is played by Nick Bold, and he was really good. Great singer, good band.
mm,
He got all the
mm,
facial expressions right the whole time, the sense of
mm.
humor. It was just like George made flesh. So I thought, well, I'll chat to him afterwards when it's all over. And I did. I got a chance to chat to him. When I was chatting to him when it was all over, he didn't leave character. He was still acting like he was George Harrison. And I thought,
Really?
this is slightly worrying.
Oh my
And I
God.
thought, does Tyson go to bed still thinking he's John Lennon?
No, no, I can't get out of character fast enough. Uh, no, but it is funny. I think that it's funny, like when we walk out to do, we have merch, and I come out and I sell merch, and I sign things, and it's shocking how many people like want to do photos with me.
Mm.
I have no idea what people think. I mean, when I go and see a tribute, I'm always like, wow, they did a great job. Okay, let's go home. Like, I don't know if I want to
Mm,
meet the band, I don't know. I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but I know that, you know, playing John Lennon is like, he's such an icon and
mm,
means so much to people that, and he's been on for so long. That, I don't know. Maybe if I went and saw like a Talking, I don't know, like my favorite, one of my other favorite bands, the Talking Heads. If I went and saw a Talking Heads tribute, and the David Byrne, impersonator was like amazing, I'd probably want a photo with him, I guess, because I'm like such a fan. So I guess I get it. I guess I get it. But like
yeah.
same time, like I don't know what people expect. So I come out and I take photos with fans, and they go like, "Oh, like you were so amazing," and do I wear the glasses? Do I take the glasses off? I'm
Mm,
doing my real hair in the show just because I think it's a little bit less gimmicky. It's a little bit more real.
yeah.
And and people are like, "Are you American?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Some of the, a lot of times it's like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm American." I'm like, like, oh, like
Ah,
what?
don't apologize, Tyson.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm not from Liverpool. I'm also not John Lennon. Did you figure that part out?" You know. No, but it's always like it's always really nice to hear people be surprised because it means like, oh yeah, like so I didn't do a shit job of trying to be a British person.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, basically they are enamored and they want photos and stuff and no, but I don't stay in character because I think that would be a little bit like psychotic, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, especially since I'm American. Um, but yeah, I'm very aware that I'm not. I don't know. I know there's a lot of guys that sort of just love to embody that. And trust me, I did all that in high school. I'd go around and go, ow, 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 whatever, and just put the accent on. But I think after doing it for 16 years or whatever, I'm very much comfortable being myself outside
Yeah.
of off stage.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Splendid,
Yeah.
Graham. Do
Excellent.
do
No,
bid
I can't say
farewells.
anymore. I mean, Tyson's great. That's it. Bottom line.
Bless you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
so
So
much for having
yeah.
me on tonight.
Well, thank you, Tyson. And yeah, next summer at the Edinburgh Fringe, we'll catch up with you then. There's a
That'll be
thought.
great. Yes. Okay. Yes. Let's get together then. I'll see you then.
Marvelous. That'd be good. Thank you so much for this
Cool.
evening. Thank you very much, Tyson.
Thanks
Cheers.
for having me,
Lovely to see you,
guys.
Tyson. Lovely to
Cheers.
see you.
Okay.
Look after yourself.
All the
Lovely to
best.
see you.
Bye-bye.
Likewise,
Bye now.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
So Graham, that well, I mean, I didn't know he was American. I mean, I should have worked that out because of course his father wrote songs for Madonna and for Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, no, amazing.
So
And
you know,
and Roy Orbison.
and Roy Orbison, exactly. So
Mm.
Graham, we've got a few minutes left, as probably not that many, but I think pressing issue out of the ones that you've come up with, the decline of Ed Sheeran that stood out straight away. Where's this decline? I've not noted the high
Well,
points. Over to
well,
you, Graham.
I shouldn't be happy. The guy's from Yorkshire. He's still only 34. He's sold 120 million records worldwide. He's
Yep,
Yorkshire and British. I've
yep.
never really liked him, and I only get annoyed because he's so formulaic. And when you look at the credits for his records, there's like more producers than
Mm.
like a rugby team or something. But anyway, it turns out that he's definitely on the slide because his new album Play, which came out, and it was a return to him trying to have big hits again. It's only sold 60,000 copies in Britain, which puts him on the
Is
level of
that right?
Suede. And yeah, and before that, Autumn Variations, which came out in 2023, which is the
Mm.
first album where he hadn't tried to be big commercial tunes, where he was
Yeah.
trying to be, more reflective and more acoustic and more of an artist. That sold about 71,000 copies. And that was a huge plummet from the previous album, which is 217,000 copies, which in itself was down on the previous album, which had sold in Britain 1,200,000 copies. So Ed's career, it's not like he's going to be penniless or unable to tour. He's still a big act, still world famous. But in terms of his albums, he's definitely a downward slide.
I'd be interested to know how Sam Fender is selling by comparison.
Well, Sam's probably about equal now. Well, certainly in Britain, maybe not worldwide. But
Mm.
yeah, Ed has gone from being the man to now being like one of the people.
Mm.
He's no longer sitting on his own at the top of the pile,
Well, he did. What
which
was
is
it?
a man who's bored rigid by Ed Sheeran. I'm quite happy about.
So he did plus, then he did minus.
Oh.
Did he do? He did multiply, but is this now time for division, Graham?
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
It's
he's
beginning to
turned
look
into
that way, isn't it?
trigonometry. And
Yeah.
who likes trigonometry? Nobody.
So play. Obviously, you're not playing it, and sounds like a lot of other people are playing it either. So there we go.
Hmm.
Now, next one, because we're whizzing through these before we get cut out. National Album Day. When is National Album Day?
It's Saturday, October the 18th. Now, National Album Day is not as famous or successful popular as Record Store Day, which happens
Oh,
every April, but
mm,
it's getting slowly bigger each year. And it's really important because, in terms of being an art form, rock and pop,
mm,
the album is the place where it emerges as a rock as an art form.
yeah.
And you can tell it's getting bigger because the ambassadors for National Album Day this year are Wolf Alice, who are a pretty big band. I mean, the
For
Clearing, their
successive
most recent
nominations for
album,
Mercury
went,
Music Prize. Yeah.
yeah, they
Mm,
went, they also went to number one in August with the new album, The Clearing.
they did.
So
They did.
they're a pretty big band, Wolf Alice, and they're quite a talented band as well. So
Mm.
it's good because I'd love National Album Day to really take off.
How does it? I mean, we're running out of time, obviously, but how does it differ from uh, Record Store Day?
Well, Record Store Day, as everybody knows, has non-stop new releases and
Yeah.
rare music coming out,
Yeah.
as well as lots of in-store performances. In
Mm,
National Album Day hasn't quite got that yet. It needs to get more active and more original. It needs to offer things you wouldn't normally get, because that's what
mm.
Record Store Day does. So I'm sure if National Album Day keeps on pushing, it will end up really big. But right now, it hasn't totally got it yet.
I mean, it's happening in the same week as the Mercury Prize is announced, who the winner
Yeah,
is this time.
well, that'll be deliberate, obviously.
Imagine if Martin Carthy won that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Martin Cathy fan, although I know how important he is in
Mm.
acoustic music in British music history.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm not that fussed about that.
I think I read somewhere that there was a special gig for Martin Carthy that Bob Dylan came to.
Well, that's how he's. Well, Bob ripped off Martin Cathy
Yeah,
several times in the
yeah,
1960s
yeah,
when he started to get big. So
yeah.
everybody's stolen something from
Mm.
1960s Martin Cathy. So
Mhm.
a lot of people owe him big
I mean,
time.
it was fascinating to see him being nominated. Having made an album in his 80s. But
Hmm.
that's what the Mercury Prize can do: throw out unexpected selections like that, rather
Yeah, I
more
love the
predictable.
Mercury Prize. Love it.
Yeah. So we'll see who wins that. Now, the last one, and this is just been highlighted this very week. The end of MTV music channels. Now, as I understand it, that's what they've said is the end of MTV music channels coming into onto British airwaves, or is this wider than that, Graham?
I think it's wider than that. Basically, the era when people would go to a music channel to watch singles on videos. I mean, the streaming world doesn't need that and doesn't do that. Everybody already gets what they want coming straight
Mm,
into their phone or their speaker or whatever. They don't need it.
mm,
So, but the funny thing to me about this is that they're closing down their five music video channels, despite the fact that their audience figures in July of this year were 1.3 million.
that's
Now,
still strong, isn't it?
yeah, I think that's good. But it
Mm,
tells you that in the world of streaming and digital TV,
mm,
1.3 million viewers just isn't enough. And that's
no,
the problem with the digital world. It is a world, it's not nationalistic. So if you got 1.3 million viewers just in
yes,
Britain and you were a
yeah,
British firm, you'd be quite happy. But when
yeah.
you're an international firm, 1.3 million viewers doesn't get you very far internationally. And the problem with the streaming digital world is it is global. So it acts like a global business rather than a local business.
And the focus is more and more dissipated because you've got so many different opportunities and avenues now for streaming. But actually, just having whereas at one point MTV was the go-to for that and very
Mm.
significant in that. That no longer applies because there are so many different ways you can now stream videos in particular.
Yeah,
So
but you don't want to see a random selection. If you've got control of your streaming, which
yeah,
what streaming is about, you're
yeah.
just going to watch. You're going to watch the what listen and watch the things that you already know you like.
But
You're
if you
not going to
follow
like.
the,
You don't want a
following the
random
logic of
hodgepodge
that,
turning
Graham,
up.
would you say
What's
that
that?
music radio stations might be under threat because you're not controlling what they're going to play, or is it different somehow?
Well, I think the age range for radio stations is older. It's less young, and the
Mm,
streaming world seems to be dominated by young people.
young,
So I
young,
think radio stations are surviving on the fact that the people who like radio are people who were born when radio was important.
and it's still like that combination of a presenter's voice
Yeah.
information and songs that they like, and maybe hearing a song they weren't expecting from ages ago and setting off memories. So I think there's still logical reasons why radio is popular in that way. But it'd be interesting to know amongst younger people, much younger than you and me, how they
Mm.
view radio. Do they listen to radio at all?
Oh yeah. Well, BBC Six Music has been trying desperately for the last year or two to get a
Yeah,
younger audience,
yeah,
and I don't know the figures yet as to whether that's been successful. Because before the last couple of years, when they made an effort to be more about new music and younger parts of culture,
yeah,
the average age of listeners was like in the 50s and 60s.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, well, goodbye MTV. What do you remember
Well,
the?
yeah, I mean,
Go on, then.
I don't want it to go, but at the same time, its role has been superseded by the world changing.
I'm thinking, when would I last have watched MTV? When would you have last watched MTV?
Probably the 1980s.
There you are, Graham. I don't know who the MTV generation is now.
I think they're all in Zimmer frames and with walking sticks.
That was you when you had your operation on your hips. That was you.
Right.
Am I right in thinking MTV? Michael Jackson was the first black artist to be shown on MTV. Was that? Am I right? Was that right? Was that the
I think you're
groundbreaking?
right.
The
Yeah,
most groundbreaking moment ever. Was that?
it's hard to believe that if you were not white, you used to struggle to get a big platform for your music on
Mm.
TV, but that was the case.
I mean, and when one thinks back to that, that is extraordinary.
Well, it is. It's completely ludicrous.
What basis that was decided at the start? Why?
Well, America's always had more problems that way. I mean, the British were happy to put anybody on TV at any point.
You've been listening to the podcast Two Big Egos in a Small Car. Your hosts were Graham Chalmers and Charles Hutchinson. This was a Baltic sub production.